Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We will chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 1 to 5 of chapter 3. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Naishkarmyam purushošnute
Naishkarmyam purushošnute
Nacha sanyasanadeva
Nacha sanyasanadeva
Siddhim samadhigacchati
Siddhim samadhigacchati
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi
Jatu tishtatya karmakrit
Jatu tishtatya karmakrit
Karyate hyavashah karma
Karyate hyavashah karma
Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi
Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So in the last session, I was explaining to you the importance of Arjuna Uvacha. That is the relevance of Arjuna Uvacha in your life. So when we go deep into these verses, they start reflecting your own life. See, remember one thing. You as the Jivatma, as the individual, you are going through your life, you're going through the various experiences of your life. Now, it is a journey. The journey has not begun in this birth. Since you are caught up with the body consciousness, you believe that your life has started in this birth whenever you were born. But actually, from the Jivatma's point of view, from the individual soul's point of view, this birth is not the beginning. There was a previous birth where you were in the same journey. And then the birth before that, many, many births. So when we talk of Uvacha expression, it is not only talking about the expression of your personality, but it is also talking about how you are expressing and experiencing life. And the experiences are not limited to this birth. So Arjuna Uvacha represents the eternal journey, the eternal quest of the individual soul. You've been traveling through many, many births, just as you keep changing vehicles in your journey. Let us say you want to go from point A to point B. Now in that process, you take the one flight, then there's a connecting flight, so you get down from the flight, you take another flight, and after you reach there, you take a cab, you go up to a point. So different vehicles you keep changing in order to reach your destination. Similarly, you keep changing this vehicle of this body in every birth. Every birth is like a changeover destination in time. Just as you have the airports and the bus stands and the cab stands and all these are junctions where you will change your vehicles. Similarly, the different births are nothing but the changeover of vehicles of this physical body. This body is considered to be the vehicle which keeps taking you forward in this journey. So as the vehicle is changed, you drop your previous body and you pick up a new body, which is what is called as death and birth. And again the Arjuna Uvacha continues, your expression continues. Your expression will go on continuing till you become perfect. Your journey will keep continuing till you reach that infinite, because that is your destination. You will go on changing your vehicles till you reach that point of, there is a point B, which is your destination. You wanted to move from point A to point B. Even if you go in the wrong direction, if your destination is very clear, somehow or other you will still reach it. The journey may be a little delayed, but still you will reach your destination. So in this long journey, you need to learn to perfect yourself. When the various principles are given, don't put too much pressure on yourself and think that you need to now instantly start practicing the entire wisdom 100%. It is not possible like that. The change happens gradually. But every Sunday, these principles are given in a very powerful way, forceful way, so that slowly your personality begins to absorb these principles. The more you absorb this wisdom, the more will be the purification. Your personality will become very, very refined. In science they talk about physical evolution. Now in spirituality, in the ancient wisdom, we are looking at the spiritual evolution, the evolution of the consciousness. That is why I told you that this is also a science. This is the inner science, the science of the consciousness. The other sciences are dealing with the world. They are the external sciences. The yogis are internal scientists. So the consciousness keeps on evolving. It is supposed to evolve. Only then you're going towards the destination. So when you make wrong choices in life, actually you are not going along with this natural process of evolution. See, if you don't do anything, if you just go through the cycle of births and deaths without any effort from your part. When I say effort from your part, I mean physical effort, mental effort and intellectual effort. Just if you're simply aware. Now what will happen is you will exhaust everything which you have and you will become one with the infinite. The evolution will happen naturally. They say that the yogis have calculated and they say that every 12 years your consciousness evolves naturally a little bit, a fraction. And then the first 12 years, little bit. Next 12 years, again a little bit. Just a little. But this is provided you don't react negatively to any situation. You are just calmly witnessing the whole thing, which is practically not possible. So invariably, when the nature is taking you towards evolution, there are so many other factors, blocks which you have deep within yourself. So those blocks come, they are directed by the ego, and they pull you away from evolution. The ego wants to keep on generating a lot of negative thoughts and negative emotions. And the more negative energy you accumulate within yourself, the more you are moving away from this natural process of evolution. So when you do sadhana, like the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana every day, what are you doing? You are counteracting this negative energy. You are enhancing the natural process of evolution. So that is why last week I said, when you do your sadhana properly, all your expressions will start becoming more and more refined. Your personality will start getting purified, because the sadhana, the spiritual practice, especially the Yoga Sankirtan, is the most powerful sadhana which you can do. Now that actually supports the natural process of evolution. On one hand, it counteracts the negative energy which you may acquire on a day-to-day basis. On the other hand, it will also help you to proceed in the path of evolution naturally. And whenever the empowerment programs are there, like we had the Kaya Tattva, we had the Prana Tattva level 1. So every year we are having the Yoga Sankirtan empowerments. Now all these empowerment programs actually speed up your evolution process. So left to yourself, very naturally, inch by inch or millimeter by millimeter, let's say you're moving. Now in an empowerment program, the Guru Shakti is enhanced, the transference of energy takes place, so that you move a little more faster, you go to the next level faster. It is only to speed up. So when you look at Arjuna Uvacha and Bhagavan Uvacha, that is this entire Bhagavad Gita, as a mere conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, now that is a very limited way of looking at it. As I told you, Arjuna is also within you only. Krishna is also within you. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, when we come there, we'll see. It means the divinity within you. The Guru Shakti is within you. And when you do your sadhana, when you evolve, God will start speaking to you. Speaking means, see, you may immediately think it is the words, verbal communication. No. This communication happens at the consciousness level in the form of subtle vibrations. When we come there, I'll explain these principles. They are all very, very subtle. So in the yogic approach, we don't stop with merely saying that this was a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. No, this is the process, the internal process. The Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the explanation of the internal process of purification and refinement. How from a coarse personality, from a gross personality, you can become more and more refined, more and more purified, till you become so subtle and become one with the infinite. So that is why we are laying a lot of emphasis on every verse, whether it is spoken by Arjuna or whether it is spoken by Krishna. Everything has its place. See, for example, if you go to the Upanishads, the student asks a question to the master. Now, if you take that question, to understand what the question itself means will take a long time for a sadhak. See, we'll come to the answer later, but first the question itself is so subtle, it stems from many, many years of seeking. It has so much of depth. Now you may tell me that, sir, I just started attending, let's say you're a newcomer, I just started attending these sessions just 2 weeks back. So where is my seeking so deep? I don't even know whether I've started seeking. It is not like that. That's why I'm saying, if you look at yourself as this physical body, then you just started 2 weeks back. But if you look at yourself as a Jivatma, see, the master looks at the soul, not at the physical body. So as a Jivatma, you have been seeking for births after births. Even when you went into materiality, let us say someone goes too much into the materiality and gets lost there, what is prompting that person to go? It is only that seeking. You're seeking happiness. You're seeking enjoyment. Something you're seeking. Every action, every expression of yours is nothing but a reflection of your inner seeking only. So that seeking has been there for many, many births. And when you come to this session, where the yogic approach is being used, your seeking becomes very, very sharp. That's all. You've come to the right place. But that doesn't mean earlier the seeking was not there. That is why a master respects everyone. All students are equal to him. He may give more wisdom to a particular student because that student is more prepared, that's all. But that doesn't mean his love for that student is more and love for another student is less. His love is universal. And it is not only restricted to merely his students. He views everyone as the individual soul who is seeking. At some point of time in their journey, they have to come to this. They have to come to that principle of Sankhya, as we saw in chapter 2, which is expanding and uplifting one's consciousness. But each one is seeking in his or her own way. It may be an improper way, it doesn't matter, but the seeking is true. So you want to move from A to B, Now this is the path, but you are moving in the opposite direction. But you are thinking that will give you happiness. That is why you are moving. Happiness is your destination. So even though you are moving in the opposite path, your seeking is true. You want to reach that destination only. A master respects everyone for his or her seeking. Actually, if you look at it from this point of view, there is nothing like a special student and all that. Everyone is seeking only. All are students. Some people realize that, some people don't realize that. Who is considered a sadhak? A sadhak is one who becomes aware of his or her seeking and consciously now starts evolving. Consciously starts putting effort in the right direction. Sometimes the master is stern with some students, not because now he has some personal issues with the students. See, that is how the students may think. It is not that. It is because the student wants to reach a particular destination, but is moving in the opposite direction. So a strong energy is given to pull the student back. See, various methods are there which can be employed. Depending on the context, depending on the situation, different methods are employed. So don't pass through these verses thinking that, oh, these are only spoken by Arjuna. Now I want the higher wisdom, so I will only hear from Krishna. It is not like that. Whenever Arjuna speaks, we get to learn more about the individual soul. And when you get to learn about the individual soul, which is what you are actually, now your self-knowledge and self-awareness will start increasing. Then when you get on to what Krishna says, you will be more prepared to receive that wisdom. That is why Vyasa has kept these questions from Arjuna every now and then. Periodically Arjuna will be intercepting with these questions. They are not interruptions. See, some people take them as interruptions. Actually, one person asked me this. Is it, sir, why is it that Arjuna has wasted so much time in chapter 1? Actually, chapter 1 is such a beautiful chapter where the complete psychology of the human mind has been analyzed. When we apply the yogic approach, we get the whole wisdom, So Arjuna's utterances are nothing but different aspects of the human mind. And then that person asked me, not only did he speak in the first chapter, every now and then he is interrupting Lord Krishna's flow and is asking something. If he had kept quiet, it would have been more nice. It means you have not gotten into the spirit of what Vyasa is trying to convey here. See, that itself is a form of ego, So when he says, why not, I only want to listen to what Krishna has to say. The deeper implication is, I am at that level, so I want to only listen to that. It's not like that. So Vyasa balances it out so beautifully. So every message which is being given in these two verses need to be carefully noted and absorbed by you and start practicing them. They are all practical messages, but you will also find a lot of depth. When you practice them, your depth will start increasing. So in verse number 1, what did he say? is that if you consider knowledge to be superior to action, then why are you engaging me in this Ghora karma? Ghora means terrible action. Now, as I told you, Krishna never engaged him in any action. It was Arjuna who was preparing for this war for 13 years. Actually, both Arjuna and Bhima, they requested Yudhishthira 13 years before this battle itself. When the dice game was played, and Shakuni and Yudhishthira were playing the dice game, and when Yudhishthira lost everything, Duryodhana called Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, onto the court and he insulted her. He even asked his brother to remove her clothes. It was Lord Krishna who helped her. You know the story part. Now, at that time itself, both Bhima and Arjuna, they requested Yudhishthira, please give us permission to fight. We will finish all these people. Yudhishthira didn't give them the permission. So, 13 years before itself, Arjuna was ready for a fight, ready for the war. So, he was not against this. And he knew that they were his cousins. See, in chapter 1, Arjuna talks as if for the first time he realizes that people who are standing in front of him are his cousins and relatives and, grandfather, the guru who taught him archery and all that. He knew all that for so long. So it is not that. See, when he says Ghora karma, per se the action is not terrible. His mind has got into a state of stress. Whenever your mind gets into a state of stress, you will not be able to act with ease. Your actions will become a burden to you. The normal duties which you need to perform in life will become a baggage. They will become a burden to you. So that is what is beautifully depicted by Vyasa when Arjuna says Ghora karma. If he had genuinely felt that this action is terrible, that is, if genuinely the action was terrible, now he wouldn't have come to the battlefield at all. He came with full vigor only. But when the challenge confronted him, he became very weak. The mind experienced a lot of stress, emotional stress. He was unable to handle that. Now, instead of handling that and becoming strong, now the mind is projecting and seeing the action as a terrible action, a frightful action. This is what happens to you when you experience life in a weak way, without this wisdom. Whenever a challenge confronts you, you immediately lose your peace of mind. And when you lose your peace, when your mind becomes stressed and agitated, then what will happen is your capacity to act will start reducing. Every bit of action will become burdensome to you, will become very heavy. So you observe yourself or you observe another person, when that person is very highly stressed, agitated, now that person will not be able to function properly. You give that person a small task to do, that person will forget. Not only that person will forget, but every action by action, it will seem as if it's so difficult. Whenever, see, he is giving the example of, he is using the word ghora. Ghora means frightful. Why does the action becomes frightful? The same action which is of fighting, which Arjuna always enjoyed as a warrior, now suddenly it has become frightful. Frightful means because the mind is stressed. He is unable to take the stress anymore. So the solution is in solving the internal stress, not in escaping from the action. That's what Krishna is going to tell him. But he doesn't tell this to him directly because still Arjuna hasn't surrendered fully to Krishna. He has started the process of surrender, but the surrender is not complete. So that's why Krishna takes an indirect method and keeps educating Arjuna on the various principles. So when the words Ghora Karma were used in verse number 1, immediately now related to your life. How are you feeling in your life? Are you going through your life like a burden, or are you going through your life in a light-hearted way? See, is action fun to you, or is action a drudgery to you? If the action is a drudgery to you, then you understand that the mind is stressed. That is why. Whenever a challenge confronts you, now you get into a state of fear. See, when a person is caught up with fear, they say, no, fear paralyzes you. What do you mean fear paralyzes you? Fear paralyzes means it doesn't allow you to move, act. Every movement, that is, see, when you're caught up with fear, now even to lift your leg and keep it forward just by a few inches will seem like a big action to you. See, in contrast, you see a child. A child does not have any hang-ups of the past, relatively. So the child is free. So from morning till night, the child goes on acting, jumping. Even if there is nothing else to do, the child keeps jumping or playing or shouting, something or other. But none of those activities are burdensome to the child. They are not heavy. Actually, the parents who are with the child, they feel burdened when the children are so active. Just by watching the child, the parent gets tired. Will you just keep quiet for a while? Will you just can't you sit in a place just for a few minutes? I've seen many parents telling the child will say, okay, I'll sit. So the child will just sit. But within 2 minutes, the child will start looking like this. It's impossible. Why? Because life is not a burden. But as you grow, what happens is life starts becoming a burden to you. Now you attribute it to the various activities which you're taking up. But then here is an opportunity for you to really explore and see what is it that is causing the burden. It is not the action, it is the mind. The child's mind is not yet fully grown. That is why child is so light-hearted. But as your mind starts growing, now the negative emotions, the negative thoughts, everything starts coming. You start picking them up. The ego also becomes strong. Now these are the factors which cause, which makes the life look like a burden, not the per se the actions. So there itself Arjuna is confused. He is thinking the action is what is frightful. Actually, if you don't do anything about it, as you grow older, now some kind of a fear actually encompasses your mind. Fear for no reason. Subconsciously, there is a fear of death. Not only the fear of death, but every little thing, causes a lot of fear in you. The capacity to enjoy life itself starts reducing. But if you gain this wisdom, if you keep doing the sadhana, now the capacity to enjoy life will increase. And the more you enjoy life, the more you will be able to act. And it is through action, anyway you have to act. But when you enjoy and act, and when you practice all these principles, when you're acting in the world, your personality gets refined. So he says, why are you engaging me in ghora karma? Now Krishna will be saying, see, per se karma is neither terrible, ghora, or it is good and all that. It is all your interpretation. So Krishna is going to separate these two words, karma and ghora. Ghora is the effect, of which Arjuna was feeling. And karma here in this context is the action. So slowly in this chapter, Krishna is going to separate these two, and he is going to tell Arjuna that, listen, you need to work on your mind. By running away from your duties, it's not that the burden from your mind will go away. Just imagine, someone has insulted you, or you're facing a particular problem. If you run away from that problem and if you go to another place and you're sitting quietly, you think you'll be peaceful, you'll be happy? No. That will keep going on in your mind like a tape recorder, or like a movie. You will not be able to sleep peacefully there also. Very interesting. Many years back, once when I was in the Himalayas, in the foothills, that is in Rishikesh, I met one sadhu. He was an elderly person, and he looked at me and he asked me, so where are you from? I said, from Chennai. This happened many years back. And the moment I said Chennai, his eyes brightened so much. He said, oh, Tamila. Means you're a Tamilian, is it? Tamila means, Tamil is a language, South Indian the language they speak in Tamil Nadu. So, oh, you're a Tamilian, is it? Okay. Okaranga means please sit, I want to talk to you. So it was very interesting. He had left everything. See, he was obviously from Chennai. That's what he said later. He was also from Chennai only. So many years back, he had left his family, he had left his job, everything, and he had come off to the Himalayas. But even after many years, his mind was still there only. He asked me, actually he gave me his address. He gave me his parents' name, his children's name, his wife's name, everybody. And he said, நீங்க திரும்பி போகும்போது அவங்க நல்லா இருக்காங்களான்னு பாத்திரம். He said, when you go back, can you check whether they are fine? How are they doing? I had 2 wonderful sons. Now they would have been grown up. What are they doing? All these things. So actually I told him, I said, you're wasting your time here, sir. Okay, so many years you spent here. I think you should come back. Because your mind is still there. So in spite of leaving everything physically and going there, now the mind has not thrown away the thoughts. That is what these great masters are saying. Just by changing the place, now your mind is not going to change. You have to do the sadhana and work on the mind. So it is better to stay where you are meant to stay and do your sadhana properly and bring about the inner transformation. So Arjuna is also, when he says Ghora Karma, why are you engaging me? Means I don't want to act. I want to get away from this action. But he doesn't realize that that is not going to help him even a little bit. Like this sadhu, almost 25 years had passed. He left a family and all 25 years earlier. 25 years had passed. But still his mind was there only. Because he had not completed, he had not done his duties. See, all that guilt was there. Actually, a lot of healing was given to him, and the guilt, everything came out, and it was a very good experience for him. So, why are you engaging me in this Ghora Karma? This is what Arjuna asked in verse number 1. And then last week we started verse number 2, wherein he says, with intermixed statements as it were, Vyamishrena iva vakyena, you are seemingly confusing me. Mohayasi iva. Mohayasi means putting me into a state of confusion. You are confusing my understanding, he says. Buddhim. Tell me decisively one thing by which I may obtain the best. Nischitya means very, very decisively tell me that one thing. Tadekam vada. Now, it is very interesting. I was telling you the confusion which Arjuna is going through. And when I say Arjuna is going through, remember, every human mind goes through these confusions. Whatever conflicts which Vyasa is depicting in Arjuna are nothing but the reflections of the conflicts which we go through in our life, that is within our own minds. Remember that. So it has been very beautifully portrayed here. See, Arjuna is very highly confused. He is devoted to Krishna. He has started the process of surrender, but he is unable to surrender because so many doubts are coming in his mind. This is a natural phenomenon which will happen to every sadhak. Here he is still doubting the motives of Krishna also. He is doubting Krishna because his surrender is not complete. When I explain this verse, we'll look into that further. But what is interesting in the overview, here he talks about buddhi. He says, you are confusing me at the intellectual level. Now in the previous verse, Arjuna's confusion with respect to the physical level and emotional level were portrayed. At the physical level, he says, why are you engaging me in this Ghora Karma? You are not guiding me properly. You are pushing me into this wrong activity which I am not supposed to do. This is a common block which a student faces when he tries to surrender to the master and the master says, do something. Now, whatever the master is asking the student to do will be the opposite of what the student's mind will want to do. See, if the student is already in the right path, now the master is not going to say anything. Student also, there's nothing for the student to ask. The fact that the student is seeking advice means there is something wrong, he is in the wrong path. So the master will have to say, no, now do this. Now there will be that resistance, first at the physical level. That is what is symbolized when Arjuna says, why are you asking me to do this ghora karma? Supposing, let us say, a particular student has a weakness for eating. Now and if he takes advice, this is if he takes advice. If he doesn't take advice, the guru is not going to tell him anything. Guru will never interfere in another person's karmas. But if he wants to change, and if he goes and says, I want to change, now what should I do? He will say, now look at this habit, you're having this weakness. So you need to become more disciplined in that area. If another student has the weakness of spending, he is just overspending, Now if he approaches the master for guidance, he will say, cut down on the spending. At the physical level first. He will ask him to cut down on certain things. If an alcoholic goes to a master, he will say, no, you're completely addicted to alcohol. Now you have to stop that. So there will be that resistance at the physical level. That is a resistance to change the course of activity. Number one. Number two, in the previous verse, that is verse number 1, the conflict or the doubt which Arjuna experienced at the emotional level has also been portrayed so beautifully by using two words, Janardana and Keshava, two names of Krishna. So in the same verse, Krishna calls Krishna by two names. You're a protector of people, you're a killer of Keshi. Now what are you? Are you a protector or are you a killer? See, generally when we say, oh Janardana, oh Keshava, it is all an expression of devotion, emotion. See, when you become very close to someone, when you have a lot of love, you start using the name of the person often. This is what we can understand. When you see the psychology of our own mind, we use the name of a person more while interacting with that person when the affection is more. Now, Arjuna and Krishna were such close friends. So he uses a lot of names. Actually, Krishna also calls Arjuna by different names. Arjuna also calls Krishna by various names. But when he is now calling Krishna by the various names, which is an expression of the emotion, now he says, oh Janardana, oh Keshava, are you a protector or are you a killer? So that reflects the emotional turmoil, emotional confusion. So this is the second kind of block which a sadhak will experience. I'm saying in the process of surrendering to a master, because unless the surrender is there, you will not be able to receive the wisdom. So what is the surrender, the block here? The block is the inability to surrender one's emotions, doubting the master's personality. See, if you take the life of Lord Krishna, many people misunderstood him. It is not only the life of Lord Krishna, the life of, he was an avatar, but the life of many saints, great masters. Now, some people understood the masters properly, many people didn't. They doubted the personality, because a master will be so spontaneous. He is not going to toe the line, he is not going to follow the herd instinct and do whatever others are doing. He will do things differently, he will think differently, he will feel differently, and he will act in a different way. So chances of misunderstanding a master are very high. That is why in the yogic path, in the spiritual path, we always say, never ever judge anyone, especially the Guru. Why is it said in the scriptures? Because that will become a block. The moment you start judging the personality of a Guru, then to that extent you will not be able to receive the higher wisdom. So by using those two names, Janardana and Keshava, the emotional block was portrayed. Now in this verse, the block at the intellectual level is being portrayed. He says, with intermixed statements as it were, you are seemingly confusing my buddhi. Directly he uses the word buddhi, my understanding, my intellect. You are trying to confuse my intellect. This is the third kind of block which a sadhak faces when taking guidance from a master. That is, he feels the master is illogical. See, many a times when the student approaches a master and asks for advice, and the master will say, do this, do that. Now the student will feel, oh, this will not work. He has not understood my problem fully. But the same student, after several years, he will see, oh, this is what he meant, is it? Every student experiences this. Very interesting. In our journey in spirituality, when the Guru says something and we feel, oh, this will not work in my case, now after a few years, we begin to understand the depth and the truth behind what the Guru says, what the Guru said. Because the master is talking from a higher level of clarity. See, here Krishna is at a higher level of clarity. Now Arjuna is at a lower level. From a lower level, that will look like a confusion only. So at the intellectual level, this block comes. That is the feeling that, he has not understood my problem fully. Actually, whenever a student goes to a master, he spends a lot of time in explaining the problem to the master. Actually, a master does not need so much of information. Whenever he wants, he is anyway going to ask. But otherwise, the student is so caught up with the problem, he feels unless and until he explains every little detail, the master will not understand. That's why even Arjuna spoke the entire chapter 1. Which incidentally is good for us because we gain so many psychological messages, tips from that, sadhana messages. So, as a sadhak in the spiritual path, you need to strive to overcome these three blocks when you're taking guidance from the Guru. That is, number one, whatever course of action the Guru gives you, there will be a resistance. There will be a resistance to change. Number two, the doubting of the personality. See, what is said in the yogic path is that, see, a Guru is one who is attuned to the higher. A true master is one who is attuned to the infinite. So he expresses the infinite, but the equipments are finite, the body, the emotions and thoughts. So now there is a possibility of that 1% or 0.1% error, So what is suggested to the student is ignore that 0.1% human error, which is the error because of the equipments, but attune yourself to that 99.9% of the infinite energy which is being expressed. But the mind searches for some issue and then gets caught up with that. Here was the avatar himself, Krishna, standing there, but Arjuna is getting confused about Krishna's personality, about his motives. And then the third block is the intellectual block, feeling that the master has not understood my problem fully. See, whenever a person goes through an issue or a problem, The mind tends to think that my problem is a unique problem. This is how the mind magnifies the issue. Whereas a master looks at the principles. See, it's very easy. The way a master functions is very simple. He is grounded in the higher principles. Whatever you say or act or whatever it is it in line with the principle, a higher principle? Yes means no issue. If there is a conflict, he is going to immediately give a solution. He doesn't need too many facts. Even one action is enough for him to understand whether your actions or emotions and thoughts are in line with the higher principles or not. Even an action is not required. Just a very subtle experience. If a master just looks at a student, he'll immediately understand where he is heading, where he or she is heading. Why? Because he's so firmly grounded in the principles, the higher principles. So these three blocks are so beautifully portrayed by Vyasa, and the more you strive and remove these blocks, the more you will be able to absorb Krishna's wisdom. The purpose of these two verses are for you to understand the various blocks of your mind and remove them through sadhana. So what is he saying in this verse? With intermixed statements, Vyamishra. Vyamishra means opposite statements, confusing statements, perplexing statements. Now, there is a reason why Arjuna is feeling that. I'll explain to you. See, he is right when he says opposite statements, because if you look at this externally, knowledge is opposite and action is, knowledge is one thing and action is another thing, and they look diametrically opposite to each other. When is it that you will feel that they are opposite to each other? If you don't understand the principles. In the previous verse, I told you when explaining the matam, I was telling you the difference between principles and opinions, facts and opinions. So, when you don't understand the principle behind the statement, then the statements will look confusing. Sometimes the master will say, no, take left and go. Sometimes the master will say, take right. It's like, you're driving the car and the person sitting next to you is directing you. You don't know the route, let us say. Now, as you're going, he will say, now turn right, turn left. So you will turn left. And you will keep going. After a while, he'll say, now turn right. It's diametrically opposite. Now you will turn right. Now, if you don't understand the principle behind this, what will you tell the guide? You will tell the guide, listen, now am I to turn left or am I to turn right? Now tell me one thing decisively. How should I go? Should I keep turning left or should I keep turning right? You're saying your Vyamishra, intermixed statements or opposite statements are being made by you and you're confusing my intellect. If you say that, will you ever say that? If you say that, something is wrong with you. So asking, see, he's saying, tell me decisively one thing by which I may attain the highest. How is that possible? It's like saying, tell me one thing. Should I keep turning left or should I keep turning right, so that I can reach my destination? It means Arjuna has not understood the principles at all. And yet he wants to attain the highest with all these blocks, See, that is another contradiction when we go to that portion I want to obtain the highest, he says, Shreyaha, the best. I want to become a Sthita Prajna. But then what efforts am I putting in removing these blocks? No efforts. But still I want the highest. It doesn't work like that. So Arjuna is feeling that Krishna's statements are intermixed because he is not understanding the principle behind the statement. So as a sadhak, this is a sadhana message, sadhana tip which we get. Whatever messages are being given, even every Sunday when the messages are being given, now take them and reflect upon those principles and try to understand the principles behind the statements which are given. Sometimes, when action has to be stressed, a lot of emphasis will be laid on overcoming your laziness. Sometimes, when the stress, when the focus is on removing the stress from your mind, the emphasis will be on being relaxed. Sometimes the emphasis will be on emotion. Sometimes the emphasis will be on sharpening your intellect. See, different points may be given. They may look opposite to each other. But when you understand as a sadhak, you should put an effort to see what is the principle behind these statements. So that is what is called manana. See, even in the Jnana Yoga, there are three aspects. Shravana means listening, Manana means reflecting, and then Nididhyasana means deep meditation and installing the principles in your deeper mind, deeper layers of your mind. Now, what is the process of Manana? It's not just mechanically analyzing something. It is trying to penetrate and see what are the principles behind the statements. That is a very difficult thing to do, but yet as a sadhak you need to do it, you need to master that. So every student feels, I am not able to understand. See, the very interesting part is, he says with intermixed statements as it were. That is one good thing. Deep within him he feels Krishna is not trying to confuse him, but he is still saying that with intermixed statement as it were, you are seemingly confusing my understanding. He projects the whole thing on Krishna and he says, you are trying to confuse me. Whereas actually the fact is Arjuna is not able to understand. Krishna is not actually confusing him. Krishna is talking facts. So that shows that the surrender is not yet complete. This is another sadhana message which we get. How do you complete your surrender? See, when your surrender is complete, you will not say, if Arjuna's surrender had been complete, he will not say, Krishna, you are trying to confuse me. He will say, I am not able to understand. See, these are all ways by which you can check what is happening within you. Whenever you feel, it's not only with respect to a master, with respect to life itself, because Guru Shakti is present in your entire life. Whenever you feel that life is being unfair to you, the problem is outside, the cause of the problem, then your surrender is incomplete. You will not grow spiritually. A sadhak is one who doesn't blame anyone outside. Here Arjuna is blaming Krishna. That is very highly symbolic. We have this tendency, the mind has this tendency to constantly keep blaming someone outside or some circumstance outside for our failures. You go and ask a person who has failed, why is it that you have failed? He will always say, because of this, because my parents didn't support me, because my colleagues didn't support me, situation was not conducive, something or other. The mind refuses to see what is happening inside. So when Arjuna says, you are confusing my understanding, immediately the sadhana tip which we get is how the mind tends to constantly blame external factors. Now, as a sadhak, reverse the process. Stop blaming anything outside. Remember the law of karma. See, we are studying the karma yoga, so it is very important for you to master this principle. That is, the law of karma states that you are the creator of your life. You are the creator of your destiny. You are the creator of the past, the present, and your future. Don't blame anyone else. The moment you understand that principle, now you become very, very powerful. Because if you have only created this, you can change that. If another person is responsible for your failure, then you will continue to fail in life because he is only responsible. He has to change. That is not in your hands. When you lack the depth in your perception, it will seem as if others are responsible for your failure. But when you increase your depth by doing your sadhana, you will understand it is your inability which has caused the failure, not anybody else. Others were only triggering factors. I've seen people who become successful in life, even if one small opportunity is given to such a person, a very positive person who has the capacity to achieve, to such a person, when you give a small, just a thread of opportunity, that person will grab it and grow with it and become an achiever. You read the life history of great achievers in different fields. Not that they didn't face challenges. Actually, they would have faced more challenges. But in spite of all that, they kept growing and they became achievers. So, this is a very powerful sadhana tip for you to practice from this moment onwards. Don't postpone this. Hey, don't say from tomorrow I'll practice this. From this moment onward, stop blaming anyone externally, anything externally for your issues. The moment you stop blaming them, then what will happen is you will now start focusing on how do I become strong. And when you become strong, your ability to deal with others, to deal with various situations, challenges will also increase. Supposing, let us say, your spouse is insulting you all the time. Now, immediately the mind will say, and you're feeling very stressed because of that. You will say it is because of my spouse that I'm getting stressed. This is an ordinary level of thinking. You will never get a solution. But a higher level of thinking is, yes, no doubt my spouse is insulting me, but I am weak. The mind is weak. I am allowing that insult to come and disturb my peace of mind. That is the root cause. So let me now do sadhana and work on that. The moment you start thinking on those lines, then it means your level of thinking has started moving up. You're getting into the real, the deeper wisdom. And when you become strong from within, now next time when the spouse insults you, you will be able to handle the situation in a calm way. You will see, that doesn't mean you'll allow the other person to insult. No, you will take corrective actions. Even if you have to tell that person in a stern way, but in a polite way, you can do that only if you're not stressed. So next time when the same person tries to insult you, you may say, listen, in this relationship there has to be a mutual respect. You can't insult like this and get away. So I will give you respect, you also give me respect. But the strength to even say that will come only if you work on yourself. So please don't misunderstand this. When I say that don't blame anything outside you. I am not saying don't deal with situations outside. That is not what is being said. The principle there is work on your inner strength so that your ability to handle the challenges externally will increase. When you don't work on yourself, when you don't build that inner strength, you will go on complaining. There is no end to complaining. You will not have the strength to stand up and speak for yourself. You will not have the strength to stand up and face the challenges of life. You will become more and more weak. So change that energy pattern. See, it is an energy pattern only. One is the energy pattern of weakness. The other is the energy pattern of strength. Now Arjuna is having the energy pattern of weakness right now. That is why in chapter 1 he dropped the bow. See, the bow, Gandiva, was so special. It is said that only Arjuna could lift that bow. He was so powerful, Now that bow is in the first chapter, Arjuna says that Gandiva is slipping from my hands. Means I am not able to hold that. So weak his personality had become. He started crying. He sat on the chariot and started crying, weeping like a small child. A great warrior became so weak. It's highly symbolic. You have such great potential in your life, but you become very weak. That is the energy of weakness. You go on encouraging that. How do you encourage the energy of weakness within you? By complaining, by blaming external circumstances. The more you say that another person is a reason for my failure or some circumstance is a reason for my failure, actually what you are doing is you are saying I am powerless. My life is being controlled by someone else or some other situation. So that will only increase the energy pattern of weakness within you. Now the opposite of that is the energy pattern of strength. So if complaints actually increase the energy of weakness, the opposite of complaints, instead of complaining, focusing on the root cause and improving the inner personality will increase the energy of strength within you. This is the sadhana which you need to do as a sadhak, converting the energy pattern of weakness from within you to the energy pattern of strength. And in the Upanishad it is said, the truth is only for people who are strong, not for the weak ones. So the more you complain in life, the more weak you're becoming. So start changing the energy pattern. See, when you do your Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, now with this awareness, whatever is causing weakness within you will all start manifesting. Little by little, I have ensured that there is a minimum and maximum limit for the energy, for the higher energy, as far as the sadhana material is concerned, so that you will be able to handle it easily. But when those factors of weakness start surfacing, do the deep breathing and go on releasing them in your sadhana. So when you do your sadhana with this right bhavana, with this right approach, over a period of time, you will find that your entire energy pattern will start changing from one of weakness to one of strength. How do you know that? When you are weak, you will feel, I am not able to handle this. That person is the cause for this situation. You will keep blaming. When you're strong, you will not blame anyone or anything. You will take responsibility for your life. You will, if another person insults you, you will say, who is he or she to come and disturb my peace or happiness? It is my prerogative to be happy. And then you will deal with the situation with strength. I'm not saying you will go and fight necessarily. I'm saying you will deal with the situation. Sometimes you may be soft but yet stern and give your message. Whatever suits that particular situation, you will do. So, as a homework today, you can do this when you get some spare time. Not immediately after the lecture, because you should reflect on these points after the lecture and you need to note down your points. But probably in the evening, whenever you get some spare time, just sit for 5 minutes with your eyes closed and feel the energy pattern within you. Just do some deep breathing and look at your own energy pattern. Is it one of weakness or is it one of strength? It will be a mixed pattern only, but what is ruling you? Which energy pattern is more? Now when you begin to become aware of this, and then when you do your Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, automatically the energy pattern will start changing. Is that clear? So this small homework is something which you can do today. And when you do that, and then when you do your sadhana, you will understand what I'm saying. See, it is a bhavana or intention which you should build. When you sit and do the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, your intention should be one of getting transformed. If you're just mechanically doing the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, the effects will be very less. So with these kinds of sadhana tips and homework, I'm trying to increase your awareness so that your intention becomes more specific and strong. The more you're able to see the energy patterns within you, it is not only weakness and strength. As we go along in this Karma Yoga, so many different types of energy patterns will be expounded. We'll see all that one by one, but you need to pause and absorb that. That is why I'm giving this homework. So the more you become aware of the energy pattern within you, see, every thought, every emotion, every action, every word, everything has the energy. It's all vibrations only. Today, psychology has proved that thought is also a form of energy only that gets converted into the electrical impulses in the brain and the nervous system. So, everything is a play of energy. So, as a sadhak, you should try to see the pattern which you are creating through your own thoughts, through your own emotions, through your own actions. That is very essential to master Karma Yoga. See, I told you, Karma Yoga is complete mastery over all your expressions. This is the starting point. So one reference has been given to you in this verse. The reference is weakness and strength, weakness versus strength. So see how your energy is flowing. Energy is flowing means in the form of thoughts, emotions, actions, speaking. Are you saying things which are pulling you down, or are you saying things which are building your confidence? Are you acting in such a way that you're becoming more weak, or are you acting in such a way that you're becoming more strong? Are you constantly blaming others and feeling that you are weak, or are you taking responsibility for your life and feeling strong? This is how the energy will flow within you. So by becoming more self-aware, you are triggering the process of purification. So in the homework here which I am giving you is purification in a specific way. That is, purifying the energy of weakness and converting it into the energy of strength. So when you bring that intention through the awareness, and then every day when you sit and do the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, over a period of time, you will find that you will become a very, very strong person. And strength is the need of the hour. When so many challenges are there, you need to become very strong by practicing the principles of Karma Yoga. Before we are going into the other verses where Lord Krishna is going to give, here itself I am giving you many principles of Karma Yoga. So start practicing them. Okay? So with this we will end today. We will do the Nididhyasana practice now. The installation of these principles which were given to you today in the deeper layers of your mind. And we'll be doing it in a very meditative way. That is the very process of Nididhyasana. So sit in a relaxed way. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. Feel the divine vibrations. With every breath, I'm going deeper and deeper into myself. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not this intellect. I am the Supreme Infinite Self. From this moment onwards, I choose to remove all my blocks and evolve in the path to perfection. I choose to change the energy pattern within me from weakness to strength. From this moment onwards, I choose to stop complaining and take responsibility for whatever is happening in my life. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme, offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes, rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. It's a very powerful session we had today from a sadhana point of view. So you can watch this even a few more times till you absorb these principles. Changing the energy pattern from weakness to strength is a very powerful principle. An entire spiritual path, that is what we are trying to do. So all these tips which are being given to you in the first two verses, they will all be expanded into different dimensions in the other verses. So I'm only preparing you right from beginning. It is not the intellectual messages which we are going to get from Krishna. It is the energy, which will uplift us. So these things which are being given to you are meant to prepare you for that. If it's a mere intellectual study, we don't need to spend so much of time. It's not required, You can just see the meaning and see different interpretations, and then you can just continue. But if you want to transform yourself, then this is the way. Okay? So reflect on these points, absorb them, and what is important is start practicing them in your life. Practice has to be done only by you. Nobody else can come and do that for you. Don't expect the Guru or God to come and do the practice also for you. Okay, so we'll meet in the next session. Thank you very much. Hari Om.